Kindness.
Why kindness?
Because it makes a difference.
For connection.
Kindness can change lives.
It's contagious.
The science says you'll be glad you did.
Kindness is the key to a healthier, happier world.
Why kindness? While no one answer is the same, one thing is clear. Kindness is something we all know, but do we know why it matters? I'm your host, Jaclyn Lindsey, co-founder CEO of kindness.org, and you're listening to Why Kindness. Hello, Kindmakers, and welcome back to the third season of the Why Kindness podcast. We're so excited that you're with us. Not only are we starting an exciting new season, we're also kicking off World Kindness Week. That's right, folks. November 10th through the 14th is when World Kindness Week is celebrated around the world. World Kindness Day falls on November 13th of this week. We like to think that Kindness Day is every day, but we'll absolutely take advantage of this one week to highlight why kindness matters more than ever. Today, I am thrilled to sit down with New York Times bestselling author, executive coach, and one of today's top voices on workplace culture and leadership, Chester Elton. Known as the Apostle of Appreciation, Chester has helped major organizations build thriving, high-performing teams through the power of kindness. Chester's books, including The Carrot Principle and Leading with Gratitude, have sold over 1.5 million copies and been translated into 30 languages. He is also the co-founder of The Culture Works and a proud advocate for making kindness a daily habit. Chester, thank you so much for joining us today. Hello, Kindmakers. Chester, welcome. We are so thrilled to have you. Thank you for joining us.
You know, Jaclyn, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, an honor. Okay, we open every episode with the question, why kindness? What would you say to that?
You know, to me, kindness is the expression of gratitude, and when you're in that state of gratitude, you are more open to service and to be kind. And I think, we say this often, now more than ever, there's always a reason to be now more than ever. I really do believe that right now there just is so much going on and there's so much divisiveness, and we forget that we've really got much more in common than we have that separates us. And what opens the door to just better relationships, better understanding, and better collaboration is simple acts of kindness. And so why kindness? It's a better way to lead in your companies. It's a better way to live in your community. And by the way, it's essential for great families. And that's really near and dear to me.
Love that. Was this something you had to learn personally in leadership? Like, where and why did kindness become a focal point for you and why it's so essential in business?
That is such a good question, Jaclyn. A little bit about me. I grew up in a ridiculously happy household. My parents were just lovely and kind, and I was just very lucky to be in that kind of a home. I will tell you though that I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and when you're the youngest and you have 5 older brothers, kindness really isn't the general theme. It's more like, we were very competitive. I mean, literally, I had to guard my food at the dinner table because they would take it from me. So growing up with that really competitive nature, sportsmanship was always important, which is an expression of kindness. But it was really, have at it, kill or be killed. And in business, I was in sales, and it was very much that way too. So mine was more of a journey to figure out that if you added that element of kindness, that things got better, that you didn't always have to be the smartest person in the room. You didn't always have to be number one at the expense of other people. Because often that's what happens, right? For me to win, somebody has to lose. And so it was a journey for me. And I've had wonderful teachers and mentors along the way that have helped me with that. And so, yeah, I'd like to say, hey, I've always been like this. No, I haven't. I had to learn that. And my life has been much better because of it.
thank you for being so honest. I think it's hard to admit the journey, but it is a journey. We're all on the journey, and it's something I see it like a muscle. We're always growing it. You can't just show up strong. You have to go to the gym. And I think kindness is like that. It can be really difficult sometimes. I have to ask, is there a moment where you have like the pivot where you realized, wow, I was leading with kill or be killed. And did something happen? Or was it kind of a series of events? Was it changing jobs? Like, where did you start to realize, wait, maybe it's about kindness more than it is about, winning, kill to be killed?
Yeah, yeah.
We won't use it as the tagline for everything.
Right,
It's
right.
really good. It like captures it.
Well, and maybe a better way to look at it was protect yourself at all times.
Protect yourself. I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
okay. and it was, there's danger, and that's
Mhm.
all kinds of work on the lizard brain or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
There were a series of things that happened that I think contributed. I don't think there was ever that, Saul on the road to Tarsus moment where there was, the light and the beacon and, God spoke to me. I had certain pivot points in my career. In my life, really. I grew up in a very spiritual family. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, probably better known to a lot of people as the Mormons. We're going through a rebrand, so help us with that. From one word to like 7 words, it's a mouthful, but we're on that journey. In my faith, you can volunteer to serve a mission, and it's a 2-year mission. At the time I served, you had to be 19 years old and a member in good standing, and they can send you anywhere. Anywhere where missionaries are allowed. And I was sent to southern Italy, Jaclyn. And when you open a letter and they say, you've got to spend the next 2 years of your life in southern Italy, that's when you know God loves you because it was fabulous. I mean, the food was great. The people were great. The language was fun. Here's the thing about a mission is you're not working, you're not dating, your job is to get up in the morning and try to make somebody's life a little better. And so that work really solidified in me this idea of altruism, of service. You always have a companion, so there's that dynamic, and you have several companions over your mission. So you meet a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. So that was a big pivot point. Service and kindness go together easily. It's not hard to connect those dots, And so early on, it was that. Then later, it really was mentors that would pull me aside and say, hey, you don't have to be the smartest guy. In fact, you're not. You should know that. Marshall Goldsmith is one of my mentors. He's kind of invented executive coaching and taught me how to be an executive coach. And I'll never forget, there was a moment, now that you mention it, he invited me to a book launch for a book that he wrote called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Brilliant book, by the way. Highly recommend it. And I asked him, and I didn't know him well. And I said, Marshall, would you be willing to endorse a book that my co-author Adrian Gostick and I are writing? It was a really simple little book called A Carrot a Day, 365 ideas on how to recognize your people at work. And he said, absolutely, I'd be happy to do it. Well, I was with my wife, Heidi, at the time. And I said to him, Marshall, you said that so quickly and so joyfully. You don't know me very well. Why were you so quick to say yes? And he said, Chester, there's 2 kinds of people in the world. Those that compete with everybody and those that lift up everybody. He says, the latter's better. And I thought, you know what? I need to be more of the latter. And so it's really interesting. He really taught me to say, look, people are, we've sold lots of books. I mean, we've really worked hard at it. We've sold over 1.5 million copies of our books. They're like in 30 languages. I mean, my mom has passed away, so I got to brag on myself just a little bit. I mean, when it comes to like writing books, we're kind of rock stars. Yeah. And so we get a lot of requests to endorse other people's books. And, Marshall said, why would you ever say no? I said, well, what if you don't like the book or this, that? He goes, Chess, it's a simple act of kindness. It costs you nothing. Read the book, give them an endorsement, and be happily on your way. And then the other moment, and I'm sorry, I'm rambling here, Jaclyn.
Great, that's okay. Yeah.
My father, John Dalton Elton, the happiest guy you'd ever meet. He said, people are going to ask you for a favor, and it's going to be last minute. And often people say, gosh, you need me to do this tomorrow. It's 11 o'clock at night. In our church, we don't have paid ministers. And so just regular members give the sermons. We call them talks. And often somebody will, not show up. And so the bishop, who's our pastor, will say, hey, will you fill in? And he says, when that happens, say, thank you so much. Thank you for having the confidence in me that I could pull this off. You're calling me at 11 o'clock at night and church is at 10 a.m. And do it joyfully because you're going to do it anyway. And it's hard for the person to ask you. Make it easy for them. So another act of kindness. By the way, do you like my kindness light? That blinking means that it's losing battery. So I'm going to plug it in here really quick. But to finish up, those mentors taught me that it's so easy to say yes. It's so easy to be kind. Just do it. Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And you enhance their life. You enhance your life. Everybody wins.
I love it. I do. I mean, of course, I feel like I'm here because of that ethos and belief. And I think there's still naysayers, or there's the person who's listening who's like, but I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I can't say yes. Curious how you would encourage that mindset. And with the work you do, my follow-up is, tell us a little bit about what it looks like within a business setting when you're going in and trying to train teams. So how do you help those people overcome their own barriers and beliefs that it's not that simple, Chester? It's not that easy to do it joyfully or to say yes.
Yeah. I get that a lot. As you might guess. In business, and we'll start there first, is that kindness and gratitude and recognition, they all kind of are in the same kind of bucket, is seen by many leaders as a soft skill, a nice to have. It's not. It's hard. It is. It's hard. You ask people, what's the best thing about your company? Oh, it's the people. Say, what's the hardest thing about your company? Oh, it's the people.
Yeah.
And dealing with people is hard. And dealing with emotions and getting people engaged and to believe that what you do really matters and that what they do makes a difference. So it takes practice, and it is a hard skill. It is a necessary skill. And I like to say, look, it's a power skill. You look back at the leaders that you really produced for, that you really worked hard for. And I guarantee you that along with being demanding and being encouraging and so on, they were kind to you. And by the way, kind, I think what people, they hear the word kind, they go, oh, you're a pushover. No. By the way, I've had leaders pull me aside and say, hey, what you did there was inappropriate. And by the way, it would have been unkind for them not to tell me that, to let me go on and think that, wow, I really showed them,
Right.
whatever the situation was.
Right.
Kindness is pulling people aside and saying, you're better than that. You can do better than that. You can be better than that. So, in the leadership space, I go, look, if you really want extraordinary results, kindness and gratitude has to be a part of your leadership makeup. If it's not, you're just going to churn and burn people. And yeah, you might get great results short term. You want long term? Kindness is a great way to do it. And by the way, the higher the kindness quotient, and I know you've got a wonderful kindness quotient exam that I encourage everybody to take, is it builds trust. As kindness goes up, trust goes up.
Yes.
And as kindness goes down, trust erodes. And if you don't have trust in the workplace, boy, you haven't got much.
You have nothing. Yeah. Without betraying confidence, is there an example, illustration of a client or a team where you saw firsthand the power of kindness in transforming their outputs, their trust, their relationships, retention? I'm not sure all the variables that you really look at when you go in and start this work with your clients, but I'm just curious, how have you seen it have a real tangible impact?
Well, there are many examples. I'm trying to think of just one that would really hit the nail on the head here. I'm a big fan of tokens and rituals,
Mm.
and I will share with you one leader. We'll call him Bill Manning because that's actually his name. And he's an extraordinary leader. He's a good friend of mine. He would not mind at all. We're using his name. And he came into an organization that was not performing well. Now he's in sports, and when we met Bill, he was at Real Salt Lake in the MLS, Major League Soccer. And one of the things that he wanted to really, instill in the culture was teamwork and being grateful for each other. So he developed this really fun ritual. And I can't remember how often it was. I think it was once a month. He'd bring his team together and they'd kind of celebrate and they'd bring an update and how the team was doing and on and on. And then at the end, he had a gift card and it was to a really nice retail. And I think it was a couple of $100. It was not, it was not a $5 Starbucks card, which are great too, by the way, but this was significant.
Yeah.
And what he would do, I love this so much. He would randomly call somebody out of the team and say, who do you want to recognize? Not pulling that person out because he'd heard something that they were doing great, because he understood as a leader that he couldn't see everything that was going on. The team can. So sure enough, his favorite story is he called somebody up and said, who would you like to recognize? And she said, I want to recognize Tony. Those names I'm making up. I don't know if those Tony. He's done such a great job in customer relations. And I want to give this card to Tony. And Tony comes up and everybody cheers. And Tony takes the card and he says, thank you. He says, I just got to tell you something. I've been waiting for months, hoping that I would be called so that I could recognize Susan. Susan, would you come up? He said, Susan's in accounting. And, I'm in customer relations and we had this thing, was kind of a snafu with their season tickets and stuff. She jumped in. She made him feel great. She figured it all out. That family will be season ticket holders for life. And so as much as I appreciate being recognized, Susan, this is for you. How great is that?
I love it. Goosebumps. That's amazing.
I know you got to go, stupid allergies, know, but it is. And when it gets peer to peer, that's when it's magical, right? It's not just top down. The work I do is in business, so I'm going to give you a lot of business examples, but the leader, you can't do everything, and when the team starts to recognize each other like that, wow. By the way, we don't just say wow in my family. We say, spells wow. This is mom. This is wow. Yeah.
I love that. I know we didn't get this at the beginning, but in my family, we go, wow, 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 wow. So we do like a whole, like build up and bring it down. Wow, 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 wow. I love that. Okay. So when we talk about kindness and it being hard, a lot of people, the idea of being a pushover, it's like, oh, it's like being nice. And it's like, actually, they're not the same. Kindness and niceness are very different. And my cheeky example I'll give is I'll usually say being nice is not telling someone they have food in their teeth. Being kind is telling someone, right? It's like, it's really uncomfortable to go up to someone at a party and say, hey, you've got
I got to share a fun story that came on my phone. And our producer's name is Robert. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So Robert lives in Chatham, right? And I live in Summit, New Jersey. And this woman had this great little podcast that she said, East Coast, West Coast, it's just different. He says, West Coast, they're nice, but not kind. East Coast, we're kind, but we're not nice. Let me give you an example. A guy's got a flat tire on the side of the road. West Coast, people drive by and go, oh, what a shame. That's nice, but they don't stop. It's not kind. East Coast, you got a flat tire, guy pulls over and says, what do you mean you don't know how to change a tire? Give me that lug wrench. He goes, he will change your tire, being kind, insulting you the whole time. What would you rather have? I'd rather have the guy help me change my tire, right? So East Coast, West Coast, a perfect example of kind versus nice, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. I do. That's like the kinds of things where people I think can struggle with like, especially in the workplace, we can be sensitive. And I think it's like generationally, we're looking at like the differences and job market and economy, belief systems, right? Like it's just so many things and so many variables that are contributing. But it's like, who do you want on your side? You know, who do you want on your team? Who do you want in your corner? And then I think it's the person who shows up, you know? I think about empathy and action. You can feel all you want for someone, but if you're not acting on it, they don't get the benefit of it. So we want to encourage the action. We want to get the people to say, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do the thing, even if it's hard or it takes my time. So I think that's a great illustration. Thank you. Okay. I do want to take it back a little bit. I started at the beginning with you. So you had a happy home, and that there was a lot of, it sounds like things, faith, spirituality, relationship with your brothers informs in how you're growing up and how you're, you know, becoming this incredible leader and author. What made you take the leap into the work you're doing today? Like what, yeah, were you always entrepreneurial? Were you always into helping people? Like who was little Chester, I guess? And like, and then how did that path take you to where you are today?
Well, Jaclyn, it all started back in a humble home in Edmonton, Alberta, where I was born. How much time you got? Yeah, no, it is really interesting. I grew up in a broadcast family. My dad ran radio stations and stuff, and it was just so much fun. You know, it was when radio was a thing. You know,
Yeah.
and it was very, very fun. And so we all kind of went into that, except for my oldest brother. He's a lawyer. We don't talk about him much. At any rate, we all grew up in sales. And I loved selling because you solve people's problems and it was just fun, you know, and it was competitive. And, well, I sold media time for a long time. And then I got this job with a recognition company out of Salt Lake City. And we sold employee recognition programs. And I thought, that's great. You know, and sports and trophies and, you know, you achieve and you get these awards. It was perfect for me. Well, I did a project with a client, and there was a consulting company came in, and I wanted to know more about their company, and so I said, "Hey, help me with this." Now, this was early days. I'm old. Early days of the internet, and the internet back then was basically a page with a phone number on it. You know, it was like, "Oh, this is so cool," but it's a phone number, right? Anyway, he said, "Let me send you a book." Our senior VP of people has written a book called The Talent Equation or something like that. And it was brilliant. So I called our CEO, Kent Murdoch. We're still good friends. And I said, "Hey, Kent, thought leaders write books, and nobody's written a definitive book on recognizing people in the workplace. If we write that book, then we're the thought leaders. And now people call me. I don't have to cold call." It was totally self-serving, Jaclyn. It was perfect. And he goes, "Ooh, I love that idea. Write the book." And I went, I don't think that's what I said. I think you write the book. I benefit from said book, right? And this was the moment he said, "You're a smart guy. Figure it out." Isn't that interesting? And then he called me, and I was playing with it for like a year, I think. He called me back and said, I've hired a writer. His name's Adrian Gostick. Write the book. Well, then we start to write the book. And this is where the revelation comes. And then it became really obvious to us that a lot of people wake up in the morning and they are not excited to go to work. You know, they're not throwing their fist in the air saying, "Yes, I get to go to work today." I know Robert does, your producer. The guy's amazing. Most people are not like that, right? Love that guy. Anyway, so we said, how do we make it so when the alarm goes off, people jump out of bed as opposed to hit the snooze button? And it came down to, am I seen? Am I heard? Am I recognized? Is my work valued? And there's no better way to value people's work than to call them out with simple acts of recognition, gratitude, and kindness. And that became our mission. And we've written 17 books on the subject, which is insane. 2 of them are journals. So, you know, whether that counts as a book or not.
Definitely.
But yeah, because, you know, when we spend so much time at work, you know, if you're happy at work, your odds of being happy at home, way better.
Yep.
And the ripple effect. And by the way, the opposite is true. You got a miserable job, you bring misery home with you.
Right.
You just do.
Right.
I got to a point with a job where I was so miserable. And this is where it's important to marry well. right?
Mm-hmm.
My wife took me aside and said, "Hey, let's go for a walk." I said, "Yeah, what's up?" She goes, "I just need to talk to you." She goes, "Look, you are miserable. By the way, stop yelling in the shower. You're scaring the children." You do that, you're in the shower. I would have said this, then he would have said that. And she said, "I don't know what we're going to do, but we're not doing this anymore."
Huh.
And I quit. And when I came back, flew out and resigned, came back, my wife met me in the driveway, which she never did, by the way, and gave me a big hug and said, "Welcome home."
Hmm.
So, life should be joyful.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy, should be joyful.
Yeah.
And when you get stuck in a spot like that, you got to change it. And so that became our mission. Let's create great leaders that create great teams where people are excited to come to work, do great work. So fun.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing you're hitting on, I think, is so important for people to hear is that it's not the grandiose, right? Like, we had something similar happen. We were working with a pretty prolific company, and the head of HR for the company, we were talking about the idea that people just wanted to have him say good morning when he got off the elevator. That was the feedback. The minute walk from elevator to corner desk, corner office. And when he changed that one little behavior of just checking good morning, hello, going up to people's cubicles on the way, what that did to change them and their day, their whole day in front of them, just because of that acknowledgement. And that's the important thing I think that we need to remember is it's often the smallest acts that have the greatest impact. And that's what we want to encourage is that it just is a little bit of checking in, of making someone feel seen, valued, heard. Those are the things that go the longest way.
You are, as my father would say, spot on. That is spot on. It really is. And because often we think it has to be a grand gesture,
Mhm,
it's the
mhm.
red carpet and a marching band or, tickets to Hawaii.
Right.
By the way, all good stuff, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's the little things that build momentum.
Mhm.
It's those little, deposits, as Stephen Covey would say, into that kindness
Yeah,
bank.
yeah.
Um, and it is, and you never know.
Mhm,
Again, I want to share with you. I am such a fan of tokens and rituals,
mhm,
and I decided in one of my things that I would set a goal to lift up a stranger every day.
hmm.
Just find a way. And so I carry with me these little gratitude stones.
Love that.
And it's so funny. People say, "Do you make those?" I say, "Well, there's two ways you can get gratitude stones. You can collect them up, polish them, engrave them, put the little gold in there, and that's one way to do it. Or in 3 clicks on Amazon, there's a box of 100 and it'll show up like the next day. I do the latter. It's just a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
At any rate, I literally, it's like my American Express card. I never
Mhm.
leave home without 2 or 3 of these in my pocket.
Yeah.
I was on a trip out west, long flight back, and I fly United is my airline. Newark is close by. And I have it's ridiculous. I have 2.4 million miles on United.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah, and they take great care of me. They do. I
Yeah,
mean, flights get canceled and stuff that happens. But
yeah.
anyway, long flight back. It's like a 4.5 hour flight. I like the aisle seat, and Barbara is the flight attendant, and you can tell she's been doing it a long time. Immaculate uniform. She's working up and down, and just it's a thankless job. Anyway, we kibitzed a little bit during the flight, and then near the end, I said, "Hey, Barbara, if you got a minute," I said, "I'd like to talk to you about something." She goes, "Well, sure." I said, "Have you heard the story of the good luck gratitude stone?" And she goes, "Well, no." Well, Jaclyn, no one has. I made it up. Right? I mean, rituals start somewhere, right?
Right, right, exactly.
So I said, "Yeah." I said, "These stones are all different and flawed, like people. But the stone represents the ripple effect of kindness and goodness and gratitude, like the stone in the pond." I said, and the tradition is you carry it with you so that even in hard times, there's always something to be grateful for. It reminds you of that. And then
Mhm.
over time, it's supposed to bring you good luck. I said, the tradition is, though, it has to be gifted to you. And I have one for you. Now, while I'm telling her the story, and then she's literally kneeling next to my chair and she's watching me, and she's really intent. And I give her this stone. She puts it in her hand. He goes, "For me?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You have no idea how much this means to me. I have had such a rough week." And then get this, she leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. And of course, I had to report her to HR. That's inappropriate. But no, I'm kidding. And I thought, because you never know. I mean, you would watch Barbie, you think she's got it so together, she's marching the thing. Inside, there was something going on. You never know. My dad used to
Never know.
say, "You be good to everybody. Everybody's having a tough day."
Yes, exactly.
And, it wasn't a $10 tip or, it was a rock.
Yeah.
I gave her a rock. You would have thought it was a Fabergé egg. So you are so right. Those simple little
Mm,
leave behinds,
yeah.
because you never know.
You never know. Oh,
Everybody's got something.
everyone has something. Oh my goodness, Chester. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. I do want to talk about the KQ. This season of Why Kindness is made possible by the Wasserman Glasser family in loving memory of Sandra K. Wasserman. Sandra believed that kindness could change the world, and she had a remarkable way of making everyone feel seen, valued, and loved. Her signature phrase was simple, yet powerful: "Thank you for your kindness." Her belief in kindness as a force for change is the very heartbeat of this podcast. In her honor, we invite listeners to do the same. Think of someone who has shown you kindness and let them know. A simple thank you can ripple farther than we ever could imagine. From the Wasserman Glasser family, thank you for your kindness. We are honored to carry Sandra's light forward into this season. So, as I shared an email, but I'll give context for everyone listening, we spent years doing research, trying to get to something that would really act as a hook for people to start to understand, how do they show up? How do they show up toward different people in their lives? All based on acts of kindness. So we surveyed 30,000 people across the US and the UK. We built a database of kind acts, all sorts of kind acts, smiling at people, to grandiose things like donating an organ to somebody. We had a wide range of things. And we found at the end that the things you could wake up and go plan to do, it was the smallest, simplest things that people said mattered most. It was the neighbor saying, "Good morning, how are you today?" And we're each year going to unveil a version of a KQ, a kindness quotient, really as a way to people to check in with themselves to see, do I do these things? Am I willing to do these things? What does it mean to be a kind neighbor, a kind coworker? And so for World Kindness Week, we're unveiling Workplace, the kind quotient for coworker. And it's really helping people just think about, like, how do you show up? And then guiding them with what they could do to get a little outside their comfort zone. So it's built on research, but hopefully a really fun, engaging way that people can start to think about their kindness. And Chester, for those listening, Chester took the new version of our Workplace KQ, which is not public yet. It might be public by the time this episode's released, hopefully. So you got the staging version, the beta version. So yeah, tell us, well, if you're comfortable sharing your score, tell us your kindness quotient. And then I'm curious, because of your work and your experience, what did you think about it? Like, what was it like for you going through this?
Yeah, thank you for asking me to take that. Because, you're taking it to go, I think I'm kind, I'm going to get this score and they're going to say, "Yeah, no, you don't,
I'm sure you're very
yeah,
kind.
you've deluded yourself all these years." Right. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I think the top of the scale is 118 or something. Is it
Yeah.
120?
Yep.
Yeah, I was 111. So it was
Okay.
good.
Wow. Very
Yeah.
kind, Chester. You're in the right
Yeah.
business. You don't have to change careers. Okay. So happy I don't have to break that news to you.
Yes, thank you. I like that the score shows up right away. It's
Yes.
like, we're going to send this to, a
No,
psychologist and a
no.
psychiatrist, and we're going
Right
to let you know
away.
if you need, immediate help.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciated the question, and so many of them are an easy yes.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I did reflect on it, and I thought, I wonder if that's an easy yes for a lot of people, and maybe not.
Right.
Maybe not, and it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I'll relate to you a fun story. A dear friend of mine, his name's Gary Ridge. You should have him on your podcast. He's delightful. He just retired as the CEO of WD-40. Everybody's got a can, right? In
Yeah.
fact, I think I have one right here. Little plug
Nice.
for
Yeah.
WD-40. Anyway, he developed an amazing culture at WD-40 based on learning and kindness.
Hmm.
And it was so funny because we were developing this new product in our company, and we needed some test cases. So Gary and I were part of this leadership group, and we were together. I think it was in Phoenix, Arizona. And I said, "Hey, Gary, can I ask you for a favor?" And he says, "Sure." He says, "Now listen, I'm going to caution you." And I'm immediately thinking, at the time, he's the CEO, super busy, not a lot of time. I'm waiting for all the excuses, right?
Yeah.
He says, "Be careful what you ask for, because I'm going to say yes." And I went, "Oh, I need a loan."
Right.
You know?
Exactly. There's a car that I've. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted a private jet.
Yeah.
Um, eh, that was such a great lesson for me, though, because we're friends,
Hmm.
and I've used that. I used it today.
Mm-hmm.
A friend called me and asked for a favor, and I said, "Of course, and we'll do this, this, and this, and this." I said, "Thank you so much." And I said, "Of course, you're my friend.
Hmm.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I'm so delighted that you feel so comfortable that you could ask me if that favor. I am delighted to do this for you."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, back to my dad. Somebody asks you last minute, you're going to say yes. You might as well be joyful about it.
Yep.
And what a lesson in kindness,
Mm-hmm.
and what a great demonstration of what friendship means.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's amazing.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, and I think it translates. I think one of the questions is, would you be willing to help a coworker with this project, or giving your time to like jump in and do something? And I have wondered, how hard or easy is it for people to say yes to that? Like, even in the culture we're in, I feel like it changes by the day, but it's gone from the extreme of like overworked, exhausted, 80-hour work days, you're expected to be on 24/7, no boundaries. So then all of a sudden the movement of like 4-hour or 4-day work weeks, and don't talk to me after 5 p.m. And so there's this interesting idea of how do we get people to feel like it's encouraged to show up and help, and to say yes, and to ask for help. I think it's both. I think I'm the worst at asking for help. I'm even with friends. You know what I mean?
Yes, and you've touched on something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is that particularly leaders. I'm the giver.
Mm,
You know, our lives are good. We don't need help, but we're willing to help.
yeah.
Again, my mentor Marshall Goldsmith pulled me aside and he said, "Let me coach you up for a minute. Uh, somebody asks you for help, and you say yes, and you help them.
Mm,
How does it make them feel?" So I hope it makes it feel good. He says, "Yeah, they're probably appreciative." "How does it make you feel being the giver?" "Oh, I feel great. I was able to step up and help them out." He goes,
mm-hmm.
"But you never ask for help." I said, "Well, we're blessed." He goes, "Yeah, but why would you rob someone else of that opportunity
Mm,
to be of service and to feel good about themselves? Why would you do that? That is so selfish." I went, "Well,
yeah.
that was kind of mean, but it wasn't. It was kind." And
Yeah.
and it was really a good lesson for me.
Mm,
If people offer to help, say, "Absolutely, thank you so much."
mm-hmm.
They feel great about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You feel great because they've helped you. Don't deflect that. Don't
Right.
say, "Oh, no, no, no." And that was the other lesson he taught me. He paid me a compliment. And of course I deflected it because, it wasn't just me, it was the team. We feel,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm being so magnanimous."
Yeah.
It's a bunch of crap, right? He said, "Let me tell you something. When you deflect a compliment,
Hmm.
which is a gift, which is somebody being kind," he says, "three things happen. One is you diminish the gift."
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, no, 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 no." You diminish the gift. Secondly, you insult the giver because they've given you this lovely gift, and you said, "Yeah, no, it really no." You go,
Right.
"What?" And he says, and the third thing that happens is my favorite is you stop getting gifts. I like getting gifts. I don't know about you, Jai.
Yeah.
I like gifts,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, what a great lesson
Mm-hmm.
that a compliment is a gift. It's an act of kindness. Value
Mm-hmm.
that. He says, when someone pays you a compliment, there's only one right answer.
Mm.
And that answer is, thank you.
Mm. Yes.
A
Here,
great lesson.
here.
Marshall Goldsmith. Love the guy.
Right. We're taking that for sure. Okay, greatest compliment you've ever received, Chester.
Jeez. That's a great question. Um, I think probably the greatest compliment I've ever received is that I'm somebody that shows up.
Mm,
Again, that was my family tradition, right? Nothing happens till somebody shows up. And that when the call went out, you know, it showed up. Um, there's a great scripture that I love. It's the Apostle Paul in Timothy. It's a really simple little phrase. He said, "I I fought the good fight.
mm,
I finished the race. I kept the faith."
mm.
Uh, so when people say, "Hey, we can always count on you to show up,"
I love that.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, I could keep talking forever. I will do a couple more things as we round out, but I have a couple questions for you. Personal life, you've given a little bit of family life, but I'm wondering, how have you found balance all the work you're doing, and then what does it mean to show up at home? Great example, of course, leaving a job that wasn't bringing you happiness or you weren't happy in other parts. But I'm wondering, yeah, like current day, do you have practices or ways, tips that you could encourage people to think about what it looks like to show up with kindness in the home?
Oh, absolutely. And first and foremost, I'm the luckiest guy I know because I married Heidi. You know, we've been
Hi,
happily,
Heidi.
yeah, if she a little shout out. We've been happily married for 42 years,
Wow.
and my parents were married for 65. My four older brothers are all still happily married. When my father died, we had a little get together and said, "What was the greatest thing Dad taught you?" And my brother Kim nailed it. He said, "Dad taught us how to love a wife." And so, when it gets out of whack, it's Heidi that pulls me aside and says, "You need to say no more often.
Hmm.
You need to be here. You need to be more present. Stop yelling in the shower." This was a great tip. Um, and so I think, you need in your life people that hold you accountable.
Mhm.
And Heidi's wonderful about holding me accountable.
I love that. Thank you. What would you say to the person who is struggling, whether it be in their personal life, in the workplace, they're going through something tough and hard? What would your encouragement be for them?
Well, first off, seek out people that love you and surround yourself with good people. Secondly, is we all go down that rabbit hole of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Go serve. Get out of your own head.
Hmm.
I think one of the great remedies for anxiety and often depression, although if you're really depressed, go get professional help. There's no doubt about that. But get out of yourself. Go serve.
Mhm.
My grandfather Tanner used to say, "The only people I don't love are people I haven't served." But you bring me to another great little ritual. Those gratitude stones are always fun. My brother introduced me to a new friend who's a potter, and he makes forget-me-not stones out of clay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you're right, people do struggle, and you'll see it sometimes. And so I'll go up to him and say, "Hey, um, do you know about the forget-me-not stone?" Again, I just made it up, but and they'll say, "What is that?" I said, "My friend makes these clay stones with little forget-me-not flowers on the back."
Hmm.
And I said, "It's just a great reminder that when you go down that rabbit hole and you're struggling, never forget there's always somebody who loves you. There's
Mhm.
always somebody who cares about you. There's always somebody who keeps you in their heart."
Wow.
And it's just this beautiful little jewel. And
Yes.
of course, I always say, you got to put a little speck of orange in all of them for me. That's the brand. Again, to break out of that
Mhm.
and call somebody and go serve are things that I make it a point to do.
Mhm.
And it works well for me. Now, I don't know if it'll work for you. You're asking me for a tip. That's my tip.
I love
Surround
that.
yourself with good people and go serve.
My family, we lost my mom this past year,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and thank you. It was very unexpected, and, for as long as I could remember, shells were a big symbol of God's love in her mind, and she would go look for shells that had a shape in her mind of like an angel wing.
Oh,
And then she'd bring these shells home and pray over them and carry them around. And very similarly, strangers, people in her life, anyone, she would just go up and share, I hope you know that you're loved, and would give them this shell. And I was so struck by how many people reached out. I still carry my shell, and it was stories of the day they were having when my mom gave them the shell. And it was this theme for us. I think you never know. Again, you never know what someone's going through. But I haven't really thought about the consistency of that token. And I just want to say thank you because I'm feeling inspired to keep the shell giving going.
good for you.
And I do think maybe a long time from now, we'll have a lot of people coming up with forget-me-nots and gratitude rocks and
Oh,
shells
gratitude
and
rock. Yeah.
exactly. Thank
It's,
you.
it is, I think, at first you say, "Well, I'm just doing it to do it." I said, "Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
great start."
Yeah,
And then the
exactly.
more you do it, the better you get, and there's that
Yeah.
tipping point. It's not what you do, it's who you are, and if you can develop a ritual of kindness in your life, and that's why your work is so important, Jaclyn,
Yeah.
it lifts people up,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of people in the world right now just need a little lift. They need a little kindness, and you never know. I wanna wrap up with just a quick story about my dad, because I
Please.
think, oftentimes we're not kind because we get offended,
Hmm.
and we think people aren't deserving of my kindness, and and it's you can see how people get there, right?
Mhm.
My dad said, "You have to choose to be offended,"
Hmm.
and my favorite story is after church one day, this old lady came up to my dad, just miserable, and every congregation's got one, she's miserable and wanted everybody to be miserable with her, and my dad was the volunteer youth pastor, to put it in context, and she came up to him and said after church, she goes, Mr. Elton, you think all the young people in our congregation just love you. Well, I'm here to tell you they don't. Just as mean as mean. And my dad, with that big smile, he goes, well, thank you very much. And she said, it wasn't a compliment. And he said, too late. So, I encourage you. My dad would say, you have to choose to be offended and you can choose to be happy.
Right.
And when you choose not to be offended and you choose to be happy, it's just a lot easier to be kind, to do little simple things. And
Yeah.
that's why I love the work that you do, Jaclyn. Keep doing it.
Thank
Don't
you.
ever stop. You touch so many lives and it does so much good. And I'm just honored to have spent some time with you here today.
Thank you, Chester. Okay, well, I'm not done. I still have a few minutes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move into our flash round where I just throw questions at you and you just give your very quick response, completely
Okay.
filtered. Define kindness in one word.
Service.
If you could have everyone around the world do one kind act, what would it be?
Give somebody a hug.
What are you reading or listening to on audiobook?
Ooh, a wonderful book. You would love it. It's right here. It's by Sharon Eubank. It's Doing Small Things with Great
Mhm.
Love. That's a quote from Mother Teresa. It's about how you give around the world in your philanthropy, and it's spectacular. Read it.
I will. Thank you. Kindness is a song.
Oh, Happy by Pharrell.
Ooh, good. Yes. So good. Of course. Of course. What is the thing you'd want everyone to hear? What message would you want them to hear from you?
Okay, I'm going to channel my inner Robert here,
Okay.
your wonderful producer. I would want everybody to hear that there is a little bit of divinity in everyone. There's a
Mm,
little bit of nobility in everyone. Look for
beautiful.
that and be kind.
Okay. And then we end every show with action, choosing kindness, extending it out. Our episode is made possible by the Wasserman Glasser family. It's in honor of Sandra K. Wasserman, who always said thank you for your kindness to everyone she engaged with. And so we would love you to call or text someone that you want to say thank you to them for the role they've played in your life, the kindness they've shown to you. So who would you want to extend that act toward?
This is a good one for me today. Our oldest child is Cassandra Irene Elton. Irene's my mom's name. She has the Antelope Lending Library in Iowa City, Iowa. She's
Okay.
been doing it for a dozen years. And no late fees, no damaged book fees, no lost book fees. It's just she wants people to have books. And her kindness to her community is overwhelming. She is the champion of the underdog. I am so proud of my daughter, Cassandra. And I'm going to give her a call today and tell her that I highlighted her on the podcast and that I love that she does what she does.
Cassandra, thank you for your kindness and the work you do in Iowa. That's beautiful, Chester. Thank you. Okay, any final things you want to say?
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Just be kind, set a goal. Listen and hold yourself accountable. Just say, I'm going to lift up a stranger today, whether it just be a smile, a kind word, leaving a gratitude stone for the waitress or whatever. Pick up the trash and just say, every day I'm going to do one thing, one simple act of kindness, because I really believe that one kind act a day can change the world.
Hear, hear. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This has been delightful. And thanks, Robert, for being the great producer that you are. Robert brings the joy.
Thank you, Rob. Why Kindness is made possible by the Wasserman Glasser family in loving memory of Kindmaker Sandra K. Wasserman. More information on our guest and topics from this episode are available in the show notes. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and would love to hear what you think. Please leave a review wherever you listen and join us on social media and at kindness.org to learn more about how you can be a kind maker. We will continue exploring this question, why kindness, throughout the season. So stay tuned, friend, and thank you for your kindness.